Ladies and gentlemen, this is a test of the emergency alert system. Not really. I'm just going to be talking about Cursor. We're just going to be hanging out. This is actually just the test live stream of my whole California setup. I've now migrated myself back to California and I'm just kind of hanging out with y'all right now. And for those who don't know, I'm actually streaming both in like 2 different platforms. So if you're on YouTube, Eric, what's going on, man? I'm in the horizontal view, and then on YouTube, you can also catch me in the vertical view, which is I find pretty fire. So I'm going to show you really quick what that looks like on my screen. So this is exactly kind of what we're seeing here. I'm not sure if you're hearing me double or anything like that, but I just want to make sure that I'm going to get that out of the way so it doesn't mess with y'all. So since Eric isn't here, for y'all that don't know, Eric is the guy who's responsible for all this cracks stuff that's happening in Cursor land. So what I want to go ahead and do is kind of check out some of the stuff I've been playing around with in Cursor. I actually vibe coded this app, if you can kind of think about it, but this is basically a blog, and this blog is fire. So this is for our new rate limited podcast. And so our podcast is going to feature, this is actually built with Astro, which is amazing. I don't even know how to code in Astro, but I mean, when you vibe code so hard, you could just come up with some really cool stuff, right? But anyways, this is actually going to have our episodes. So all of our show episodes are going to be here, and they'll kind of look like this. You'll see like Claude Sonnet 4.5. And so this will be like the actual episode here. And what's nice about it is that like it loads at blazing speed. So the cool thing about Astro is like it already builds your blog and everything is done in Markdown. So all of this was all done inside of Cursor, which was super ridiculously fire. So in Cursor, I don't know how to use Astro. So what I did, I'm going to show you real quick, but like all the sauce that I cooked up with right now in this whole demo, because I used the new agent window and I used the plan mode type of thing for this type of stuff. So in my first request, what I ended up doing, just to show you how this like stuff really, really works, I'm going to get rid of some of these types of things. And so I basically took like the concepts from the latest versions of Astro, and I said, I want you to use the EXA MCP and use ref for search so we can understand the latest framework layout changes for this project. And so I got this project from Lexington Themes, and they already had like all the latest stuff for this type of, for using the latest versions of Tailwind, all the latest Astro 5 conventions and stuff like that. And so it's always good to lean on other people, especially if they're designers, on their types of things. And I told them the goal, and I gave them some input here for what we wanted to do. And then from there, basically, I think the initial agent I did was the Cheetah model. So the Cheetah model moves super fast, and I had to tell it that this is 2025 and we're in October. So that way it would try to grab the most recent documentation. And it basically went through several searches to search for these best practices. And part of the reason why I was doing this was because I wanted to make sure I primed the context. Everything here is to prime the context. Eventually, I knew in my head that I was going to generate some features from it. But before we did that, I also wanted to generate some Cursor rules. So it's really important that you try to get as much information out as possible. And like this chat history is going to be super important, super golden for this type of research task. So let's see. And then once you go into here and once it's kind of doing its thing there, you can kind of see it going through all the different parts of the components and code. And it basically gives us like a research summary. And it says here in this research summary, like, here's the patterns that you're going to want to use for Astro in 2025. So I don't know Astro. Like, I mean, I could even say I'm not a developer. I just vibe, right? But you're seeing how we're going to like leverage these language models to do the research for us. And they move really, really fast. And so in that type of research, you can kind of see all of the details that it pulled out, which is like amazing. And this basically is almost like running, /init for Claude code, but it actually goes much deeper in Cursor. And this is kind of why I'm really enjoying using Cursor lately. And it actually tells us about the latest layout techniques that are in my code, but also in the information that it also researched for itself. And it also talks about like the styling approaches. So this is a current styling approach that it uses Vite with the plugin of Tailwind CSS, which is a little bit unique for this type of project, but it's good to know, right? And it also talks about the podcast structure because there is a podcast section in this template. And then it also talks about the specific Snow Peak theme and exactly what it does. It has a paywall system, has content collections, has a whole bunch of stuff that's in there that I didn't have to like dig through all the code as much. I mean, I did kind of skim through it, but this went into a lot of details. And so even took a look at the schema as far as like how we would even make our own context for this. So here's the recommendation for the rebranding. So this is how you turn an existing theme that has all this really good code into it and then rebrand it for your own thing. And so from here, I did / generate rules. So in Cursor, if you go down here and hit / generate cursor rules, you see this little thing pop up. And typically a lot of people just say, kind of let it YOLO do its thing. It's very similar if you do use Claude Code or these other types of things where you do /init. But because we have all of that conversation already like done for us to grab all the information about what our repo does, this is where the magic really happens. And this is what kind of like 10x's your rules so that the AI agents actually conform to your standards and what you're doing in your repo. And so that's how we're going to take advantage of this here. And so from there, you say, before we do anything, now that we fully understand how this repo works, these rules will be helpful for future agents that work in this repo. Please also include rules on use ref MCP and exit MCP, because those are my two favorite MCPs. And that's how I grab the latest information. And as these are critical to making sure we always reference the latest documentation for our project. This project is using the most cutting edge tech, and letting the agent to use these MCPs will keep it on track, as the agent tends to prefer what is in its training set versus what's actually the older data. And that's the key term here, because a lot of these, even the newer models, their cutoff date is maybe a year ago. And all of the information they've collected on the internet, the higher percentage of it is on the older information. And so naturally, these language models are going to prefer those types of things in their outputs. And whenever you have these new MCPs and it has a rule like this in telling the Cursor to generate rules around this, it's now going to actually try to favor this more often than not. So that's kind of one way to kind of look at it there. And so in here, you'll say, I'll create a and so this is actually what it did. It created multiple rules files. So it created this Astro project structure that actually went through my project structure, my app. And so this is always going to apply to be true. So whenever it's writing and doing any types of reads, it's always going to have this in its context, and it's only 70 lines. This is how important it is to do, these types of rule setups. That's one of the rules, right? And the other rule that it generates is this thing called globs. Whenever the agent is looking for these specific files in your repo, it's going to actually do these types of things. And these are going to only be applied manually. So I will only apply this Tailwind CSS if I'm working on something and I want to apply for a very specific rule. And so this is what's cool. So Cursor did this for me. And I changed that to Claude 4.5 Sonnet with the extra brain. When you do this command, and you're going to get you're going to get all of these files, you're going to get all of that sauce generated for you. And this is amazing. I mean, like, I could not have explained it better. One of the goals, like one of the most important things in prompt engineering, is actually to show not only good examples, but bad examples, especially if it's around the same topic. And Cursor is really good with Sonnet 4.5 to generate that specific example, because the language model is actually going to prefer to do this type of thing when you tell it to work on add a new feature in your repo. And it's going to say, instead of using that, use this, because this is specifically in my convention of code. Otherwise, if you just tell the model to just do whatever, you're not going to get good results. And so I just want to kind of bring that home here as far as like, and share this knowledge that I literally just in the last, I don't know, like I was on a plane. I was on a plane just vibe coding this whole blog. So if you're just joining in right now, what I'm kind of building is this, like in Astro, it's actually like our podcast. And so this podcast is called Rate Limited. It's myself, Eric Provencher from Repo Prompt, and we also have Gosu Coder, aka Adam. And so our blog is actually just, if you go on YouTube, youtube.com/@ratelimited_pod. I'm going to put this into the comments as well, because y'all need to get up on this right now. Yeah, Cursor plan mode is absolutely cracked for sure. So yeah, we got, 615 subscribers. Let's go. The first episode we just launched almost has like 10K views. No way, bro. Like 5,500. Let's go. Yeah, Cursor plan mode is super duper cracked. Yeah. So, yo, Frank, what's up? What's going on, man? You're chilling right here in the chat. So, yeah, that's kind of what we are there. So like this, what's amazing about like this whole thing, like if you're chilling on an iPad, if you're chilling on a regular display, this is Astro is like the resizability of this is just absolutely insane. So no matter what the screen size, you get this whole thing. And I mean, to say like these things down here are actually episodes. So these are actually episodes. Like this is like a blog post type of thing. And this sauce is just, it's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. This is where you put your email and stuff like that. This is fire. You just say YOLO Claude. You know, I don't even know what's have. It searches all these different articles, and all this stuff is written in Markdown. Yeah, I mean, you see how lightning fast this is. Yeah, get out of here with this. This is like a score a perfect 100. You know. And so this is what a blog post would look like. And this is, you know, we'll have some of the transcript and this type of thing. So yeah, like this is an example of actually our podcast. We'll have YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast link, and I'll have like this kind of listed here. And then on mobile, it looks like this. I got to fix the mobile view so that we actually show, I want to show this first because this is most important as far as like when you click onto something. Yeah. But yeah, rate limited podcast is kind of what we were doing. But yeah, this is going to have like our transcripts and all of our various stuff. But I want to get this going in the next couple of episodes, and we're doing an episode every couple of weeks. So we're actually going to record one tomorrow morning. I got to wake up at 5 a.m. because literally I just came from Hawaii for a family emergency today. I took care of my whole stuff. Basically, I just wanted to get the studio set up to make sure everything was kind of working well so that I can cook with y'all. And so I'm pretty excited. Let me just test another camera here. I'm just doing another camera test. So this is camera angle number 2. The audio, I think, is coming from here. Let me put my headphones on. Sure, we're still cooking live. Let's see. Testing 1, 2. Oh wow, yeah, we're doing pretty good here. And then we're here. Okay, this is looking great. And then I got this view. Sheesh, bro. We are so much sauce right now. There's too much sauce. Yeah, the sauce. Yeah, these are the repos, by the way. I think it's called LexingtonThemes.com. Y'all need to get up on this. This stuff is absolutely insane. So yeah, there's different things like. As far as like, yeah, this is the podcast stuff. So I looked for the podcast themes and I thought like, which one would be most fire for us to do? So like this one's kind of crazy. This is almost like if we go to all pages, let me see if I can go to live. There's usually just all pages. Oh, live demo right here. So this is the one you can go mobile and stuff too. So like if you're a magazine, I think you got to be good. Let's see if I do overview. Yeah. So if you do overview, we should be able to see like the podcast open. Yeah, this is like a blog post. This is like a magazine. This is insane. This is, yeah. So then you can customize it. And the way that Astro works is basically for a blog post, everything is just written in Markdown. So these are the podcast episodes. This is episode 1. This is what I was talking about right here. And so our episodes just have this metadata tag at the very top. And then this is the show notes. And what's cool is, you know, when you run like the app, I think I already deployed it on Vercel. So like here for this one, it basically obviously it resizes in real time, which is crazy, insane fire. But yeah, anything you're doing will help here. So like setup, LOL. Let's see, setup. Yeah, I think it would. Am I still running this? Yeah, Bundev. Cool. Yo, what's going on? Am I even in the first episode? Oh, I'm not. Localhost 3000. My bad. Localhost. See, I'm not used to this. I'm still new to Astro. I'm like not even 24 hours coding with Astro. We're up in here. Okay, so I think I wanted to go to podcast episode. Let's see. We got one of these here. Okay. So am I in the right episode? This was awkward. Let's go to the homepage. I got some bugs to fix. I've been vibing too hard. Well, anyways, y'all saw the podcast. So this is us kind of getting started, and this is me. Yeah, rate limited podcast. I still don't have the site done yet, but this was me vibe coding on a plane, and yeah, we cooked, fam. Like it's got the whole thing. We got even like a subscriber paywall. It's not that we're gonna do that. It's just that we have the options to do that. And so yeah, part of this is just me testing my setup. I like it without the headphones. And then making sure my camera works. Yo, okay. Should focus on my eyes. Okay, cool. And yeah, I was going a little bit over the cursor rules of, hey, Command E, this is the new cursor rules mode, or the new agent window. And so with cursor rules, what we did was prime everything going back. And then once we primed everything and we set up our cursor rules, I mean, the level of detail that you get in all these rules is just absolutely fire. And this is the way that you should be generating your rules. Once you have these rules files generated, then you can go into your Codex, you can go to your Claude Code, you can go to these other places and then tell them to set up like an agent's MD file based off of this rules if you wanted to. And so what's nice about it is that these won't always all apply. So they will only apply to certain sections of the code, or they will apply to like places that, like for these specific thing, this is always going to apply because this is very important and it's extremely lightweight and it's going to save you that context. Otherwise, you would either have to call it yourself, but this saves you lots and lots of time, especially if you're doing repetitive tasks. Another thing that you can do is introduce these rules into slash commands. So when you're doing specific slash commands like generating features or generating a blog post, what I'm going to do is when I'm just going to generate a slash command, I'm going to have some of these rules already in place inside of that slash command. And I'm going to say, here's the transcript from our blog, from our podcast for 50 minutes, and here's the timestamps and everything. Generate a blog post about whatever. And so it's just going to write something in Markdown, and I'm just going to let the model do its thing. And it's going to follow the rules and conventions, and it's going to know the formatting, it's going to know the schema, it's going to know everything that it knows to generate a blog post. And so that's basically the way that we can automate it. Eventually, as soon as we're done recording in Riverside, it will just pop out the magic edit and then do like some type of webhook flow and just push it right into my app. But yeah, I'm just trying to keep this super lightweight. And maybe I just have like a listener that's set up, it'll actually probably do a pull request after our episode's recorded and kind of, publish or something like that, which would be kind of crazy, right? Like from a pull, for like it can generate if you have something that's listening for an episode, a specific link, I could probably auto-generate a pull request. And because, Cursor, Bugbot, and all these different things, I could just probably run a slash command or something in the cloud or Claude Code or Codex, or run some type of thing in the cloud that has these instructions already baked in. So that'd be kind of interesting to kind of take a look at. Let me catch up with the comments a little bit. How do you feel about Coca-Cola? Why do you ask that question? Like, very nice. I'm having VS Code with Codex. Why would you recommend Cursor? I would definitely recommend Cursor if you're coding with Codex and stuff. I feel like Cursor is a little bit of a different beast in terms of maybe your experience using Codex. And also it's like, what is your motivation to, work in this type of environment? Like, do you have infinite money? Do you not? Are you a student? I feel like there's a lot of different scenarios here. It is going to cost you quite a bit of money to code with these types of agents if you're using, like a Cursor plan. So if you spend $200, you're probably going to get around $400 plus in compute. And so whatever the API costs are there, they're currently published publicly. It's just, whatever the model provider is charging is pretty much what you're going to be getting. So, you can try the Haiku model, which is cheaper now. You can try GPT-5 inside of Cursor, which is really great. And so you can pretty much repeat your workflows. For me, I find Cursor to be extremely fast, really good with these rules files. And then plan mode, the latest plan mode in Cursor to me I feel like is just super top tier right now. It's really, really good. And yeah, that's what's up. Why are these? Okay. I don't know why you people are just randomly posting about these things here. I guess I'll just ban you. I don't know. What are you building, mate? So I'm building a couple different things. Oh, I want to show you my latest app that I'm doing. So Levux, check out this app. I want to show you real quick. So I finally got the domain and everything, and I've rebranded. So for those who know, there's this app called Drip Me Out. So dripmeout.vercel.app, I think. So dripmeout.vercel.app. So this app was created by my friend Mickey over at Convex. And what it does is you can take a photo and it's basically going to add a chain to, your face. So you just get one of these types of things. And so this was a really simple app that he made. It's with Convex, and it's actually currently available here. And so what I did is I forked this app because it's a really basic app. He made it a couple months ago. This is using the Nano Banana model. But when you click an image, you don't get a actual gallery view. You only get this little type of thing here, right? And then this only works with the camera. So you can't even upload your own images and stuff like that. And so in the last couple of I don't know, months or so, every time I hop on, I've been basically just kind of, bro, come on. I kind of flipped this and I made my own prompt and everything. And so the one I made now is called Anime Leak. So I flipped it super hard now. And so now we got our own landing page. We got credits. We got a gallery view and everything. So these are, and I got a featured gallery. I have an admin pane. I'll show you real quick. This is pretty fire. So what you can do is basically, the whole point of it is basically you upload a photo and the anime actually kind of leaks into the reality. And so it's really nice because you can't really tell what happens when you upload the photo. So I'm going to just sign in real quick and I'll show you real quick what this looks like. So when I hit sign in with Google, I'm going to sign in with my account here. And then what ends up happening is like, okay, yes, you're going to sign back into Clerk. Yes, I am. Let's go ahead and do that. And once I'm signed in, you can kind of see the different images. So now we actually have like a gallery view. You can actually share the link. And so I could send it over to other people and you can actually see this link like this. You can go to create your own and you'll be like logged in. And then if you want to like feature the image, you can go into the settings now and you can kind of feature in the public gallery and it'll actually be featured. If you want to, like you have like sharing controls too, I can also share on X. So if I hit this type of thing, what's going to happen is X is going to pop open. It's going to be like, hey, check out my anime transformation created with Ray Fernando, you know? And, you know, there's the anime leak type of thing. So, and then that way people can then continue to do like a little viral sharing thing. If you want to delete the image, like you didn't like it for whatever reason, you can also do that as well. And so, yeah, it's kind of cool. So you just basically upload an image here. Like I could just say, I'm going to say date added. Let's see, did I add this one to MCPs? I'm just going to do that. Cool. So now when I upload the image, what's nice is it's basically doing this like background task with Convex. It uses Convex for the backend. And so that you can see it's kind of processing. We have credits here and boom, just like that. It basically turned my whole thing into like this whole new anime type of thing. That's pretty crazy, right? So that's actually my latest app. And so what's nice about it is that you can also buy credits. So I hooked it up with Polar. So now like you can actually get credits if you just, you know, and so you can say, I want to purchase credits. And this is something I vibe coded in as well. Everything is completely vibe coded, by the way, like everything. And so now you can purchase 420 credits for $5. This is currently in a sandbox environment. And so in the sandbox environment, basically what happens is that like, you know, this is not real money. You can put in whatever credit card number and it should be able to go through there. And so once the credits are done, they show up here. And so another cool thing about Convex, I'm going to see if I can show you dashboard.convex.dev. And so I'm going to log into my dashboard real quick. And like the reactivity is really, really cool. So one of the cool things about the reactivity part is kind of what I'll get into here for a sec, is that like the credits will actually update in real time. So whatever changes I make to the backend, you'll actually see them up here and reflected. And this is kind of what I want to show you real quick. Let me see if I can kind of go into drip me out. Okay. So I still have the old name. So these are all like my functions and everything. And these are like the users. And so this is like the database of where my users live. I guess other users, yeah. Is this me right here with 430 credits, 498? So this is me right here. So I could just say, I could change it from 498 to 420. And then boom, I now have 420 credits, right? Like right live, right? If I could just say, like, let's just test an edge case, right? So let's just say I have 1 credit left and then I could buy 1 credit. So if I go into here, this is like a really good test, right? So I'm just going to try another one like this one. I'm going to upload it. And then now I should consume the credit and they should go to 0 basically. And then they'll say, you have 0 credits left. And we'll see it kind of do its thing here. So it still lets me process. And then you can say, hey, you're out of credits. Purchase 5 credits, and it even tells you this type of thing here. And so it's kind of cool. And is it like Supabase? It's different. Yeah, the entire database is actually in TypeScript. So that's kind of my favorite part of it, is that your code is basically in your database. So that's like rules and everything you would normally do as far as code, it basically just lives in your database. So it looks kind of something like, I don't know if I could show you real quick. Let's see. Let me open the project here. Drip me out. Cool. So this is basically Convex in a nutshell. Convex right here. So all of the stuff here, like billing, users, like all of this is just defined by TypeScript. And so that's really, really nice. I don't know if you know, like with TypeScript, what's nice about it is the fact that, language models love this type of stuff. And you basically have, and so this is actually what happens when we regenerate images. This function currently lives in Convex. So when the image gets uploaded, it runs this function in the cloud in Convex's database itself. And it's going to do this type of processing and then hits the Google Gemini API and runs this type of command here. And so the other thing is the tooling. So the tooling is really, really strong in Convex. And basically and this sounds like a commercial, but like I'm actually working with them to try to see if I can partner with them because I love them so much. And I've talked to them all the time. Clerk for authentication, I use all the time. I love these two companies. They work together so well. But the tooling around Convex is amazing too. So like you run this little process in the background, it's going to automatically generate those types. And so what typically happens, a lot of people do when they're writing stuff to like SQL, they'll have like a object relational mapper or ORM. And so they'll either use like Prisma or Drizzle to sit on top of that. So then they generate more code to interact with the database. And then you kind of have to abstract your, what stuff are you writing into objects and, that type of thing. That's okay. And these language models handle it pretty well. But over time, your code kind of starts to for me, bloat everywhere. And I don't mind that as well. But I find working in Convex to be super simple. My favorite part about Convex is that reactivity stuff that's built in. At first, it's kind of like a toy. You're like, this is cute. But the more that you just think about your software, it's a kind of a different paradigm. Maybe it takes like a couple days to get used to. But once you start kind of thinking this way, all you need to do is like, you think about your front end very differently now. So you don't actually have to handle like, okay, with the database, you'll have data that's like delivered to the front end. And sometimes you have to like on the front end do some parsing and figure out, okay, is this still valid? Is this the most up-to-date information? Should I throw away any cache that's on my front end or that's on the browser? And like, how do you handle that type of thing? And then how do you update state on your actual app to make it feel reactive? And so you have to think about a lot of these things in your head. And then if you're having that trouble, the LLM's also going to have that trouble. So the way I think about things in Convex now, it's like, okay, all of the data and all of the state actually lives in the database. So like whatever like is happening in the database, that's kind of the most truthful information for me. And so when I design an app or when I think about like building like this type of app, all I'm doing is just basically calling a query function saying, hey, give me the latest of whatever. And to me, it's almost like peeking into the database, as a user. And what they do in their tooling is they set up a WebSocket for that. So they set up automatically a WebSocket for that. And you're basically listening. And so you can have like 5 of these windows open and you'll see them all. And, if you all try to do a consumption of like, generate 2 credits at the same time and get 0, obviously one's going to error out saying, hey, you're trying to generate more than one. So I think it looks like I hit an edge case and I have no clue what's going on, but I'm going to refresh here and see what's up. Or maybe it just kind of, that was definitely an edge case. So I got to fix that bug as well. So you can kind of see what happens with the anime leak. I need to fix my prompting so that way the actual stuff as far as like what it chooses to draw into the picture will do it better. And you can kind of see that there. So that's kind of cool. So yeah, we can even go through the purchase credits flow. That'd be kind of fun. Let's do that right now. So if I just type in 4244, cool. Let's go ahead and let's go buy. This was the fun part. I remember doing this live. This was really, really cool. Cool. So now that we do that, boom, now I have 420 credits. This is awesome. And then I'll get an email saying I got credits as well. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And so yeah, now I basically have a fully functioning app, and all I have to do now is make this product in my production version of Polar. So polar.sh, and then, add this product in that I just did here. And so this product is called the credit pack, and then just charge, instead of $5, I'll probably charge, $10 or something like that. That way people can generate a bunch of stuff as much as they want. And it's just credit space. So if whatever credits you don't use, they're not going to go away if you don't use it for a month or something like that. I think that's really cool. Tokens-based stuff is really, really fun. But yeah, I do find this pretty fun. It's actually kind of low-key addicting. And then I'm trying to fix I don't know if I pushed the latest change, but there is a bug. Once you sign in, you may not get credits. So for those folks who just created an account or signed in, I'm going to hook you up right now. Okay, there's no one that's signed in yet. So yeah, this is my test account that I was doing here. So 420, and if I go into here for like 420, yeah, boom. You see my credits update up there? Yeah. So I could just say like 69. Let's go. All right. Cool. Yeah, my bad. I totally did that. So yeah, you can spam me at that address. I'm not qualified to listen to this. I know how to use ChatGPT to make Python scripts to organize Excel data because I can't be effed. So I don't think you should ever discount your learning capabilities. So like that's the thing. We all start from somewhere, and these AI tools actually help us see how code can look, right? And the way I used to learn is I used to go to GitHub repos and I used to clone them and try to make changes into the app before AI. So that's how I try to figure out how to learn how to code, right? It's like, oh, this is really cool. I want to do this. Now, can I add a feature on top of that? And I would like rack my head around how everything worked. It would take me several days, a week, sometimes months to understand how some code bases worked. But then once you understand how that code base works, and then you understand the conventions that they use and like the way that they generate the functions, and maybe you can add on to things or extend certain functions or functionality. That's how you actually kind of get to play with this. But now you can do that at super fast speed with AI. And it's really easy for people to kind of get lost, but that's okay. I think that's part of the playing part, because all of this stuff is going to just help you get better. And I think the goal of this is to kind of sit down and try to like really understand and play with it so that you can learn from it. And I think that's the biggest key here, is that like more than ever, not only can you have fun building this type of stuff, but you can actually, use that as the best opportunity for you to kind of get that feedback back. So I think that's, to me, like it would have taken me a long ass time to make this entire app, right? You saw how we flipped Mickey's app from like this, like we flipped this app to literally like this, right? So if we go to animeleak.com, like this was like a vibe stream. This is like I vibe coded this on a live stream. This whole front, this landing page right here, right? Like we were vibe coding this on my last live stream with testing out the models in Cursor and stuff like that. And so that's how we made this cool landing page. It's even mobile friendly. So we got this whole mobile friendly thing going on. So if I go hit custom size, go to like iPhone Pro. So on iPhone Pro, like this is what you're seeing on the landing page, right? You go right in and then you cook, right? So like this is what we're doing on mobile. Like this is a fire app. I think I gotta actually publish this so that I can start making some money. No, but I think that's the only thing I really got to fix left. It's like I just upload some images. So yeah, this is Anime Leak. Obviously, I need to update the colors and stuff, but even then, I don't know. If you guys want to try it out, let me know. Yeah. Oh, you like 420? I actually, it's really funny. I don't. It's not that I anti this. I always like let people do what they want to do. For me, it just gives me like tons of anxiety, and some of my friends do it and all that stuff, and like I really have no other opinion. But for me, it just doesn't really help me. It creates more anxiety, and I think it's just more fun and playful, because like I know a lot of people like post this type of thing online, and like it's just kind of like this. For me, it feels like meme-like underneath. It's like, hey, I'm like, this number is kind of like a fun number, and if people kind of know about it or something like that, it's like kind of like a big haha. So it's kind of like my Ray Fernando 1337. It's like if you know that number, you know that like people used to game before back in the day. So like, like I used to be a huge gamer. I was actually addicted to games, and I could not stop playing games. Like I literally would just play games instead of doing anything else. And I was addicted to like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, like so much that like it made me go into skateboarding. Like I was doing that all the time. I was only playing video games. It's like, it ruined my life, but it made me who I am today. Right. So, there's that type of thing, right? Like it's just like these numbers, these certain types of things kind of like influence your life, and like they're part of the story. So, I don't know. I feel like the coding thing kind of saved my life too, right? So like getting into tech, doing that type of stuff really kind of got my focus turned around from, doing like at that time when people were doing gaming, it really was not a career, and, you couldn't really live stream. And for me, like I wasn't a good enough gamer to be like worthy of anything anyways. I was actually really good at sports, but that's a whole different story. Anyways, like coding is just kind of like the iPhone is really kind of what got me addicted. And that same energy that I did for gaming, I got really into like computers and iPhone and all that stuff. And that's kind of what really got me out of the whole hole. So I was addicted to like that in StarCraft 2. Oh my God, StarCraft. Okay, so one of the things you may not know about me is that I purposely avoid playing games because I just don't want to fall into that rabbit hole again. And it's kind of like one of those things, like if you've ever been addicted to something, you just kind of have to walk away and just kind of say like, all right, I'm building a better life for myself. So that's kind of what I've done. I love like people who play games, and I respect that a lot. And I actually understand the pain that people have to go through to get really, really good, because it wrecks your mind. The other part of it is like that thing that before a lot of money got into it, the whole thing with like even just live streaming now, like it's actually cool that's even supported. So I guess I'm carving my own lane now on live streaming with you guys. So that's kind of been pretty fun for me. So yeah, that's what's up. StarCraft. Oh man. Okay. Drop it in the chat right now. Who used to play StarCraft? Who still plays StarCraft? Bro, my friends were crazy. Oh man, did anyone get into Dota that way, by the way? Like that's I had a couple of friends introduce me to Dota, and then like that was kind of like the final end of my like gaming career, is like getting into Dota. And it's like, okay, I can't like be productive in society if I just completely play this type of thing. Yeah. But anyways, yeah, that's what's that. So if you guys don't know about this, yeah, the two MCPs I like, it's called ref.tools. This is absolutely awesome. It's paid for, but I want to give you in on some secret in this. Like, not a lot of people talk about this, but I think I was going to try to say why it's really good, why make search cool. I think there's a blog post here that basically explains the whole background of what they do and why. And so a lot of times when you're making tool calls, just normally just doing web search, you fill up and flood the context window. And even if they do parallel tool calls. And so what ends up happening is like you have a lot of inefficiencies here. And what these guys have solved is how to do these types of tool calling specifically to look up documentation so that it doesn't flood your window. And so I have a video that's currently in my members only. I've sent it over to the editor and he's going to try to like chop it up. It's pretty rough right now, but you can watch the full unedited video if you sign up for the membership, obviously. And basically I explain in there that a little bit of that concept of why this is really important. And I show you like all the tool calls I did, and you would actually be very surprised. I think it only ate up like a couple thousand tokens, which is kind of like super crazy how little tokens it actually ate up. And what's nice about it is like a lot of times when you load these MCP servers, especially if they're going to do something like documentation search on your behalf, they're wanting to throw that back to the LLM to do that inference. Where, you know, with ref.tools, they have a lot of stuff that they're doing on their end with filtering and all these specific types of things, and even narrowing down the queries to very specific things. So that way it can keep your LLM very efficient, very focused. And so this is a tool I really highly recommend. If you're doing any professional work, I would highly recommend this tool, ref.tools, as part of your MCP bag. Obviously, you get all these types of documentations. I would not be able to make half the apps that I'm doing because of this. The other bonus is that you can actually upload private documentation. So if you have your own documents, your own PDF files, whatever you're doing, that stays here. And then they basically use that same crawler and then feed that back into your IDEs. You can put that into Claude Code. You can put that into anywhere an MCP can hook up to, which is pretty awesome. And that's kind of the way that works there. Obviously, it plays really well with Exa, and that's the second one that I want to tell you about. So Exa AI is the MCP server that I absolutely love. It's super fast, and they have now a really fast one for code-specific things. Same idea. It doesn't eat up a lot of context window. These two combined, they play off each other, and this is part of what I was sharing earlier with my cursor rules. Not for the Drip Me Out app. I mean, I use it in there too, but for the other app, which I was actually sharing for the Rate Limited podcast, right? Like how I was able to pull in like all of these different documentation and these searches and stuff, and it didn't really use that much context. And what's crazy is not only did we do all of those rules, I continued with the rebrand and just told it to like keep doing all these things for the podcast. It wrote all these files. It like made these different episode examples. It kind of came with the whole plan. You can see it keeping going. All this whole conversation used was 178,000 tokens of Claude Sonnet 4.5, which is insane, right? Like we did all this work, 5,000 lines, and like we basically refactored the whole app. And that was like the Rate Limited podcast one. So Rate Limited, this thing, ridiculous, right? I mean, yeah, these are the episodes. I think, yeah, this is that's how we cook, fam. I want to share these stuff because like I'm super passionate about these things, and I feel like y'all need to know about this. So I played StarCraft for RL research setting up. Oh, man, don't make me get back in the games, bro. I'm not gonna do that anymore. I'm not. y'all are playing around here. Like y'all don't play around here. Okay. So as far as things that we got going on, all right. So we got the database is cool. We got my app. This is really just me hopping on real quick to test the live stream setup because I was just testing my different camera angles. We got the camera angle number 2 here. I can show you the room setup and stuff like that. This is pretty awesome. I got the board down here. You can kind of see the board. Yeah, this is kind of what we're working with. I got the orange iPhone. Oh yeah, the strawberry stickers. If y'all know about the strawberry stickers. Oh, guess what we got here? Cursor fam. This is actually from AnySphere, the company that actually is what we as Cursor today. So this is like their special sticker. Only a couple people have these types of things, and I got a couple of them right here. I should do a giveaway because I got like 2 of them. And the strawberry stickers, these come from last year's OpenAI Dev Day. And I got some socks and stuff from them too. You want to see that? I'm gonna show you real quick. This is the OpenAI swag bag right here. The Dev Day thing. And they got like, oh, they got the hat. Okay. Okay. Oh. Oh, are we like, oh, I got the logo right here. Okay. I'm not a hat bro. I have hair. I know a lot of people have like wear hats. Like usually when they take it off, they don't like to show their head and stuff like that. But maybe I should give this away. This is pretty crazy. Let's see. We got the hat. Let's see. Oh, I think I wanted to give away one of these books. So this is called 100 Chats for Studying Career and College Life. So they have a bunch of these cute little like, not sayings, but basically, I don't know if you can kind of see this here, like these chats and stuff. I'm going to get rid of my face. Prepare for a new job. Walk into your first day with insight into the company, the culture, whatever. Chat can help you be more prepared. And then they kind of show something. I don't know why it's doing this. It's trying to like glob onto something. I'm going to just keep it right here. And so this is kind of like a little book that kind of explains like these different chats. To me, it's not really useful, but they actually had this and they basically let me take it away. So yeah, that's what's up. Let's see what else we got up in here. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh. Let's see. Oh, socks. I haven't even opened them yet. Oh, it's got the snake game on it. Bro, this is okay. These are like probably the most expensive socks ever. Should I keep them sealed? Because how much do you think they'll be worth like in 5 to 10 years when the OpenAI is worth like $5 trillion? Right. Yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just going to keep that as like the bag. This is my little badge. This is how I decked it out, vibe coding. And I actually had a live stream. If you haven't seen it yet, it's such bad quality. I really apologize. I'm actually trying to up my stream quality. I'm going to get one of these things called the YOLO box, and I'll have it like in a backpack. And I'm going to carry around literally this camera with me like this. So we'll have like a higher quality stream. That's actually my goal. And we'll have like, my audio was on point, but the video quality, whenever you stream directly from, like I use this phone specifically for live streaming. That's why I got this phone. But the YouTube app doesn't really do well with like cellular streaming. So I need a dedicated box to do that. And then I could still stream from my phone, you know, to do all that stuff, which would be super cool. And so I guess they gave you all these patches, and they also gave me a sweater, which I have in the other room. But I think, yeah, that's what's up. I think, what else do I get? Let's see. Oh yeah, these are like little patches and stuff in code. It's kind of cute. Oh, does anyone want to get into the Dev Day event? Yeah. No, this is pretty cool. Oh, I went around collecting a bunch of these little patches. So you can actually like heat these patches up and put them onto your like sweaters and stuff like that. So if you want to have your own patch, maybe I should put one on the microphone. That'd be kind of fire, huh? Like a little, oh, Halloween one. That's kind of fun. Oh, actually put it on the bottom, huh? That'd be kind of cool. But yeah, so we got socks. I think these socks, I'm just going to keep sealed. I'm going to put them like in a little container or something like that. And that way we can kind of like, in like 5 years, like, oh, that's what I should do. I'll make a YouTube video. In 5 years, I'm going to check out these socks and see how much they're worth. You know, like, right? I mean, that's like the Mr. Beast video. In 10 years, I'm going to open up these socks. We're going to smell them and then see if they're worth like $10 million or something stupid, right? Like, you know, like that would be kind of wild, actually. Like, that's very Mr. Beast, like, you know, to be able to kind of do something like that. So what are you guys cooking with? Oh, Don Vito Codes, what's going on, man? Yo, you're up in the chat. So good to see you here. We'll be worth $5, bro. I think they're gonna want to say like, nah, you can't even pay me to take that thing. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's how we do. Oh, they took OpenAI and OpenAI Dev Day ran with it and just realized, yeah. Yo, man, so good to see you on here, man. I was just on here just chilling, showing people. I got the Rate Limited podcast. And I think I got to be up super early to record this, but I had to come to the Bay Area for a quick family emergency, and got a lot of that stuff handled, which was super awesome. And I still got some more stuff to handle later in the week, but I actually wanted to just test my live stream setup to make sure that, you know, I was good to go for the podcast recording, but also I want to do some live streaming tomorrow. I was also checking out the Haiku model. If you haven't had a chance to check that out, that one's pretty fire. Also, we had a chance to check out the the cheetah model is the cheetah model. If y'all don't know about the cheetah model, whew, fuego. Okay, so the cheetah model, the way I use the cheetah model is for context priming primarily. So I like to do searches through file systems. I like to search through diffs. If I have a feature branch, I diff with the main branch. I just tell it to just look through a whole bunch of stuff. I prime that context, load that thing up, switch the model over to Claude Sonnet 4.5 thinking. From there, then what ends up happening is like I get this million token context window with a really smart model with thinking, and then I can just kind of burst off from there. And like that to me saves Claude Sonnet all this like extra tool calling, but Cheetah is so damn fast at pulling all the different files, and it's really good at finding things that like, it's just unbelievable. So that's kind of the way I've been using it a lot. Not a lot of people do it this way, but I find a lot of consistency. And I also hook it up to the MCPs, ref.tools, xMCP. So I use Cheetah to context prime. The next step I do is turn on plan mode. So I turn plan mode on, Claude Sonnet 4.5. That existing conversation goes into my plan mode. So now I take all that context, put it into plan mode. Plan mode with Claude Sonnet 4.5. You get 10x better plans just from that alone, and then you cook. The next thing that I did was I actually have this thing called the documentation folder, and I cooked with this one super hard. So I'm going to show you what I did. This is the first generation of it, and the second gen of this one I did is in here. I'm going to show you real quick. I'm going to get rid of this. So not this app, but I'll show you the other app. So open recent. So in this podcast here, what I did for y'all is not this window. Cursor, what are you doing? Where are we, fam? I don't know what's going on with my cursor. Okay. Oh, Command E. All right, we're out of here. All right. So what I'm doing in my documentation folder, this is like, I love streaming like this because it's so informal documentation. Okay. So I have this folder, and it's as a root folder, we only have two different things. It's basically a bug view here, and then we also have features view. So whenever I'm working on features that are planned, they end up in there. And then this is kind of what the features look like. After I go into plan mode, I basically tell it, hey, make sure I want you to start like chunking out this whole plan into these different sections and put them into my documentation area. And here is the information for how you need to use it in my README here. And so this will actually put the actual features and the specific phases of the implementation from that plan. And I find that a lot more granular because it gets way more detailed inside of this type of documentation. So now we have one documentation for one specific phase, because in Cursor, whenever you switch out of plan mode into build, you're only going to have one line task. And then sometimes what happens with Claude Sonnet is it's only going to see that task line. It's going to tell itself it's done, and then it kind of moves on. And you lose a lot of detail from that then on after. It's a little bit better with Codex, but you still have the same problem because they only see generally one line, and there's too much in the context window to actually kind of go off. And then you're having to manage multiple chats opening up, especially if you have like a really large plan. And so if you're able to then split them out into different phases and then have one specific like feature that you're working on in like a lot of detail, this is how you can kind of keep track of it, almost like Kanban style, because whatever features are currently active are the features you're working on. And whatever stuff in plan is pretty much in the queue for what needs to happen next. And so these types of spec files, you can kind of see how the spec plays out. This is about like 300, 400 lines here. It even talks about like any other stuff that we talked about. So all of this came from my context priming because I was using Cheetah model, and it knows about like my brand guidelines and all these extra things in there. And it, even it broke down my whole building into phases. And then as it's actually working, it actually generates this progress file, which is super amazing. And this is based off of, the README. And then the agents MD file in here also explains a little bit of this. And when I generated my cursor rules file, it actually generates something about this documentation workflow and how it should actually behave when it's working with this, and the specific README and agents folders that it should be listening to, one at the planning stages, but when it's actively developing, but then moving on to like when it's complete and how it should move and rename the folders and everything like that. And this is like basically a basic spec it kind of creates here. So this example is just absolutely killer. And this workflow is amazing. And what I ended up doing was that I actually did the same thing for bug reporting. And so this workflow, I feel like is for me is extremely helpful to keep track of all my different bugs because I have multiple bugs in an app. Sometimes I'll have it review something. And so this is a recent bug that I've resolved, and you can kind of see the file that it generated for when it resolved it. So I go here, this is the actual fix. This is the report. So it generates a bug report. I had the model just generate a bug report. You kind of see the problem that it ran into for the layout. And then I actually ended up doing some research and stuff. So this is actually kind of the research that I had to do with the MCPs. Like, hey, can you look a little bit further? I just want to get a further evaluation just to make sure that we're not going to rewrite code. And it turns out like it was just like a simpler fix than what we needed. But I'm glad I had this folder because it helped me actually do the research and better understand, because I'm not really that familiar with Astro, but I can probably tell that something seemed a little off. It's like whenever an agent wants to write new code to solve the problem, you're like, there's got to be a better way, because I'm pretty sure I already have the code for this. And a lot of times you do or you don't, or you can just kind of rethink how you're going to actually have the code displayed. In my case, that was it. You know, instead of making a separate section, I'm just going to literally just move my text files that I was going to do into like not a separate component. I just grouped it back into the previous area, and it's already rendering the markdown one. So why run two different tasks for that? So little mini efficiencies, but that just kind of comes with experience, and you'll kind of learn these over time. And so yeah, don't worry too much about that, but that's kind of what it is there. So now we have the stuff that's been reported. Anything that's active will be up here that's working on, and this is the stuff that's resolved. So this is all the stuff that I still have reported that I still need to work on. And this is super helpful because now we're not relying on Cursor's task system from the plan phase. Everything's kind of exploded out into these separate files. And these separate files then turn into almost like your scratch pad for working through the problem until it gets resolved. Because from here, it'll move from reported to active. And then this is perfect. Like if you're working with Codex, you can now tell Codex to just work on this bug specifically and then create a pull request until it's done. And so it has a lot of context now. And then you give them those two MCPs to work automatically. And Cursor has these rules files. You can set up a background agent in Cursor. So Cursor will then do all this stuff headless. I don't even need, I could just say, go fix this bug while I'm on the beach. Now it has all this context. It has all the specifics about my repo, has all these rules set in place. And like, that's the power that you can leverage as a single person engineer to get this stuff done. And to me, these repeatable systems are super valuable because they don't only save you time, but they can help you kind of do a quick gut check, and they can help you with, they're helping me learn a whole new programming language from a different angle, right? Like, to me, that's kind of extremely rewarding. And it's okay if you don't know it, but I think hopefully you picked up a couple of different tips and tricks here. It was like, one, how to maybe generate better rules. Two, like how to actually set up a repeatable flow. That way I'm not relying on an app. I always love everything that's checked in the code, because like whenever you have active features or documentation that you're working with there that's checked into code, now you're not relying on a third party something, and these agents can get confused, right? So now whenever the agent checks out code, they're going to check out the code in the exact state and the exact problem space that it's working in. So to me, that's super valuable there. Let's see. I'm down for chasing pseudo multi-threading in Python though. Okay. Sonnet 4.5 thinking is expensive too. Yes, it is. I think there's trade-offs, right? So like you probably want to pull it out for certain types of things, but you can also use GPT-5 High. I love GPT-5 High. But once I've already worked out like the big plan, like for example, instead of using Sonnet 4.5 for the plan, I would just use maybe GPT-5 High. It depends on the task for me, Don Vito. So like, I feel like Sonnet 4.5 for design related tasks, like I'm doing with this blog and all these different reactivity type of things. Sonnet or the Claude models in general tend to be like really, really good at kind of understanding that and understanding intent for design. Like if something that's not really clear, if I have like a very prescriptive thing saying, okay, now I know what the design is, and I just need data, right? Like this next episode to process the transcripts and just feed it into a blog post and do specific rules. GPT-5 Codex, just the default is good. Sometimes I actually prefer GPT-5 Low. It's really fast. I've already done a lot of the legwork, especially in the documentation phase, and everything should already be specced out in the plan for it to just kind of just start going. And its own mini verification loop is just enough to keep it right on track, especially if you have these agents MD files all over the place. The medium is totally really rare. So yeah, it's rare to catch me live. Yes, exactly. Yeah, because I'm still kind of like in Hawaii time zone. I got to wake up early tomorrow, and but I just wanted to make sure I had this all set up. So it's like, hey, I got everything set up in the studio today here in California while I'm here for a little bit. So I thought Cheetah was haiku. I could see that. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, cool. So as of now, what I should probably do is head on out because I need to get some sleep because I got to be up early to record a podcast. If you haven't had a chance to check out Ray Fernando 1337, I'm on X, I'm on YouTube here. Subscribe if you haven't done so because that's what we do around here. I'm going to also drop the episode for, I actually have an episode that's currently being like edited right now. So if you're a member, you can actually have early access to that. And that's how I configure those 2 MCP servers in Claude Code, how I configure it in Codex, how I configure it inside of Cursor, and also configure it inside of Droid. So 4 different apps. It's about an hour long unedited right now. So you can go watch it if you want to go see how to configure it in each one. You know, I walk you through how to get the API key, like where to insert it, and kind of do that type of thing. So if you had trouble, like I know Codex is kind of a rough one because you have a TOML file and like you're not familiar how to do it. And then the instructions for EXA aren't really clear for how to add it in as a TOML file. I actually kind of show you and explain that. I do have timestamps in the video, so you can actually go right to that specific section for how to add the EXA MCP to, you know, Codex and stuff as well. And that video is being edited right now. It'll be up later. I'm also have another video where I show you Cursor's plan mode and how I, you know, ship some features using that type of thing as well. So that's also being edited. And I'll be uploading those raw videos shortly, so that way you can see them. To me, I like live stream style, and I'm still kind of new to trying to create edited videos, which takes me a little while. But I feel like as a perk for members, you get to see those early and watch them before anyone else, and it'll take a little while to come out. So instead of telling you to wait, you know, you probably came here for my live streams anyway. So that's really funny. So I'm not human, bro. Oh, is my lips not moving correctly? Yeah. Really love seeing you talking. Feel free to be at my community. Yeah, man. Yeah. Let me know what you guys want to cover. I think I always I'm obsessed with this stuff. And this is probably the most exciting time. I want to do something where I want to read like a news headline. So one of the things, I think Claude released something real quick. I want to see if I can find it before I go to bed. Claude blog post. There's something they released about a new feature here. Engineering news announcements, right? So in here, let's read this one before going to bed, folks. Not 4.5, but there's one they released, Agent Skills. So I was reading this article. I really liked it a lot. It's a 3-minute read. So let's just kind of read together, folks. So what they're saying here is Agent Skills, October 16th, 2025. And Claude can now use skills to improve how it performs specific tasks. Skills are folders that include instructions, scripts, and resources that Claude can load when needed. Claude will only access a skill when it's relevant to the task at hand. When used, skills make Claude better at specialized tasks like working with Excel or following your organization's brand guidelines. And here they actually show a video. Claude code execution and file creation is toggled on. And then the skills previews here. So it looks like there's different skills that are defined, like make really beautiful visual art in PDF documents, brand guidelines for whatever this thing is with typography. So you've already seen skills at work in Claude apps, where Claude uses them to create files like spreadsheets and presentations. Now you can build your own skills and use them across Claude apps, Claude Code, or our API. How skills work. While working on tasks, Claude scans available skills to find relevant matches. When one matches, it loads only the minimal information and files needed, keeping Claude fast while accessing specialized expertise. Skills are composable. Skills stack together. Claude automatically identifies which skills are needed and coordinates their use. Portable. Skills use the same format everywhere. Build once, use across Claude apps, Claude Code, and the API. Efficient. only loads what's needed when it's needed. Powerful. Skills can include executable code for tasks where traditional programming is more reliable than token generation. Wow. Think of skills as custom onboarding materials that let you package expertise, making Claude a specialist on what matters most to you. For a technical deep dive on Agent Skills, design pattern architecture, and development best practices, read our engineering blog. Skills work with every Claude product. Claude apps. Skills are available on Pro, Max, Team, and Enterprise users. We provide skills for common tasks like document creation, examples you can customize, and the ability to create your own custom skills. So you go to settings, capabilities, skills, and here you can actually turn different things like Acme internal comms, a set of resources to help me write all kinds of internal communication. Claude automatically invokes relevant skills based on your task, no manual selection needed. You'll even see skills in Claude's chain of thought as it works. Creating skills is simple. The skill creator skill provides interactive guidance. Claude asks about your workflow, generates the folder structure, formats the skill MD file, and bundles resources you need. No manual file editing required. This is awesome. Enable skills in settings for team and enterprise users. Admins must first enable skills organization-wide. Wow. Agent skills, which we often refer to simply as skills, can now be added to the messages API request, and the new V1 skills endpoint gives developers programmatic control over custom skill versioning and management. Skills require code execution tool beta, which provides the secure environment they need to run. Use Anthropic created skills to have Claude read and generate professional Excel spreadsheets with formulas, PowerPoint presentations, Word documents, and fillable PDFs. Developers can create custom skills to extend Claude's capabilities for their specific use cases. Developers can also easily create, view, and upgrade skill versions through Claude Console, documentation, and Anthropic Academy to learn more. So let's take a look at these here. So agent skills is what they define here in the documentation. And what do they say now? So the reason why I'm reading this out loud, and I encourage you to do the same, or you can kind of hang out with me, is that it's really important to do some reading for me. This is something I'm trying, and hopefully we can kind of go at this together, is that like I'm trying to read like 10 minutes before bed, like at least for 10 minutes. I realize that I don't read enough. In fact, I consume too much YouTube. And I find that when I read, it actually helps me think better, especially for like professional documentation like this. It's really well written. These people have like really good degrees. I dropped out of school and I had a lot of trouble reading. And so now that I'm reading more, I find that I get better at reading. And if I read out loud, it can also help you too. And I'm hoping that this can encourage you to do the same. And what's nice about it, if you read like something like this before bed, is this is going to be like kind of in your mind before you go to bed. And then when you wake up, you start to have all these cool connections from things that you've experienced throughout the day. So it's kind of like my personal hack to learn things. And so if you can shove these things into your mind before you go to bed, I'd rather shove that in than watching a fight scene or watching some stupid political thing or some news headline that's just going to get me angry. Why do that? I want to like fill my mind with stuff like this. Then it helps me think and put these concepts together. Because right now I may not have how to compose these skills or these types of things, but when I wake up in the morning, when I take that shower, it's gonna be like, I know exactly what the first skill I'm gonna try to put together, right? So that type of thing, I'm hoping that you can kind of take this and run with this as well. So how are skills different from MCP? This is a really good question. I'm hoping that this document can actually answer it for us because this is from their documentation. So agent skills are modular capabilities that extend Claude Code's functionality. Each skill packages instructions, metadata, and optional resources, scripts, and templates. So I think this is different from an MCP because now you're defining, it's almost very similar to projects in some ways. So I have a lot of projects in Claude. So if I go to claude.ai, one of the projects I have where I do a lot of repetitive things is like for like our podcast, right? So I gave it some example files of like our podcast plus like our brand guidelines. And these brand guidelines I had Opus write based off of one of our podcasts. So this is like how we're planning to communicate. And this is kind of everything about what we talk about and kind of our personality and our whole vibe. So anything that we do is just really going to come from this document. So whenever I make a website or whenever I make a blog post, I'm going to make sure that it references this specific guideline so that it can always stay true to our specific tone. Otherwise, it's going to sound like every other ChatGPT generated thing where this will actually make it sound much more unique to our specific voice. So this is really important, especially if we're going to write any blog posts, any type of communication, like, and then if I have a certain way that I want to do a blog post, like always do it in a certain way, I'm pretty sure like the way I'm trying to think about this skill thing is more of like, how would you give a task to a robot to do, right? Like a physical robot who doesn't really know much about its environment. It only knows what it's been trained on. So if you're hire someone who's brand new, you got to outfit them with these different skills. And like, think about when you first started your first jobs, or like if you're in charge of like maybe starting at the register, or even taking a look at like a brand new piece of technology, right? You don't know what the menus are. Like when you first start, you're like, click this menu to do these types of things. And then you start to understand like, okay, if I want to do something with this, new phone, not only can I take pictures with it, but I can do this, right? Like, search the web and do other things to find information, or like I can send a picture in a text message, that's a skill, right? And so they didn't teach you the skill, you just kind of figured it out on yourself. And now you have that as a skill set, so that whenever something that unique comes up, for example, like you have this emotional reaction, you're like, oh my God, that's really cool. I could take a photo and send it to someone. So like the robot will then now use that skill of taking a photo and sending it over, because it's like two different steps that are being combined. You have the messages app and you have the photos app, right? So you can think about these types of things. The way I'm thinking about it right now is like, not only do I have my own apps, but like, how am I interacting with the world in these little interactive stuff, either with my code or with tasks that I'm trying to accomplish. And like, you can almost think of them as like big, like ideas or anchors. What do you do with the LLM that they currently fail at, right? That require a little bit more instructions to kind of get it there. That's probably a good idea for a skill, right? And it's different than an MCP server. Like it can probably call an MCP server if it needs to. And that's what you would probably put in as part of its skill set. So for example, if you're doing like financial analysis with a spreadsheet, like it does there, if you always want to do a financial analysis with a spreadsheet, but you want to actually reference some internal documentation, in that skill, you'll define like whenever you're doing a task for looking up a customer's, history with all the stuff that they've purchased in our store, make sure you call this other MCP server, which is going to grab all the Salesforce data and pull that in and kind of inject it into its context. And then once you pull that data in, you're going to want to do these specific filters for these specific things. And then I also want you in this part of the skill set to make sure you look at when's the last time they've returned something too, right? Have they had a bad experience with us? And like, have they given us any ratings that were really low? We want to try to fix that experience. That's a skill, right? Like that's something that you as a customer service rep, you always want to like make that relationship better. So like these are skills that you can define that are not like extremely procedural, but they're more like, hey, in general, we want to improve the customer experience. Look for these types of things. Here they are. They're in an MCP tool call. They're in the web search. They're, here. And you want to give those, like define those skills in a package. And then as your team uses them, that feedback loop will kind of continue, and then they can update that skill set, to get better. So as more eyes kind of get to use it, and as you get that feedback from the real world, that's kind of what I would consider a skill. And so the MCP is kind of one part of the Lego piece in the overall skill stack, right? So the skill stack is kind of this higher level idea, almost like an app, right? But like it's kind of like this higher level idea that's just instruction set. One of the advantages of setting up a skill, which is kind of what they're not talking about here for me, is that like as the models get smarter and get more general, like better at general knowledge in deeper domains, you don't have to be as descriptive in your skills. You can just give them like 4 or 5 lines of things of like, here's what you generally need to do, and you'll figure it out because you're a smart model. Right now, because the models like are medium smart or like just beginner smart, they can fail at different places and we don't really know, right? So, I mean, just think about where we were almost 2 years ago with GPT 3.5 or GPT 3. You really had to guide the model a lot just to generate something interesting. Where now it has a little bit more world knowledge, and then they actually have reinforcement learning in a lot more domains, and so that kind of helps it come together to be what appears to be an even smarter model. So that's kind of the way I'm thinking about skills right now, if you know what I mean. So skills are just Anthropic's answer to ChatGPT's Apps SDK. I don't think so. Actually, I think it's something much more powerful. I see. Kind of. I think so. Let's see let's read a little more. I think we have to really kind of play with this and read and understand. So why skills? They're reusable file system-based resources that provide Claude Code with domain-specific expertise, workflows, context, best practices that transform general-purpose agents into specialists. So remember how I was showing you how I use this documentation workflow? I think this is perfect for a skill because one is there's basically almost like a project manager that's dealing with my features and keeping track of them to make sure that they get implemented and then that the documentation stays up to date. The second skill that I want is my bug fixer guy. So this is a person who's going to take all the feedback from the external world on Discord, on Twitter, like wherever you launch apps, right? Your goal is to grab all this feedback and then try to write bug reports following my guidelines. So you saw those guidelines that I had posted, right? They're very specific in my app. And so now I want to basically generate a skill that's going to basically go through and say, hey, follow any bug reports and put them into reported in here. And so the template that you want to use for the bug report, this is the actual structure. So as a skill set, make sure you reference this type of thing whenever you scrape anything on the internet, right? So with my app, I just launched it. I want all the feedback. I have all these emails that all my customers are writing to me about. I want you to go ahead and generate bug reports that look just like this, right? This is the general formatting that I do. And then here's this checklist that I'm using to resolve a bug. So bug report completed, fix tracker. And this is the exact things that I had Claude Code write for me, right? Inside of Cursor. And so when it makes a bug report, this is exactly what the report does. When's it reported? It even assesses the actual severity, a summary, like actual reproducible steps. Sometimes the customers may actually tell you exactly what it is via phone call, via transcript, via anything. So you can capture this here. It even like does a root cause analysis because now the actual agent's sitting in your code and searching through, I think this is what it could be. And it writes it into here. So because just capturing is really, really important, right? And then it even tries to figure out like what happened as well as root cause and an approach to even fix the problem. So like once these start piling up, then you have like an overall like bug index. And this bug index is basically going to tell us like what are the most severe things that are currently happening in our app. And then which ones should we actually be working on first, right? So that's just general like, you know, bug fixing, bug flows types of things. So let me see if I can kind of show you the formatted version here. So that way we can see this here. Let me kind of take this aside. So the stuff that I have left these are the reported bugs that I have left. And this is currently resolved down here. And then you can kind of see down here, it has basically its own, you know, as a human, you can kind of track this yourself. You know, an agent can keep track of this automatically. So this can be defined as a skill. So go as a skill, scrape all this information on Discord, on Twitter, on wherever you have a customer service emails, and then go and use this bug report thing that has this stuff defined, right? Like the skill is not necessarily this documentation. This is already a workflow I have that I've been given to these agents to do and I usually have to tell the agents to do this. Now I could just say, here's a skill, go do the, you know, like run this automated task, like tell an agent, go run this task. And then, you know, make sure that, you know, whenever you are doing this type of web scraping or this web scraping task, if you need to utilize this skill, you have this skill to write bug reports. You also have the skill to generate features because if there's a really interesting feature that users are talking about, or maybe it's ranked really high in your GitHub, you know, issues and stuff like that, we should probably write a good feature request for that with some research. So now you have this kind of really cool autonomous loop that you didn't have before. It usually required you to be in the middle of that. That's why I think this is extremely composable and it's really, really interesting. And that's why it's really important to kind of generate these types of, you know, best practices. My general rule now is if I write something twice, if I have to do something twice, like by hand to keep track of rules, to keep track of features, to keep track of bugs, that turns into a rules file. Ask the LLM to help you write that so that it's repeatable, so that other AI agents or another human can do that. And then Claude is so good at writing these instructions. It is just amazing. And basically it builds the system for itself. And that's what you want to get to because that's the first layer. The layer on top of that is more abstracted, saying, you know, a skill. That's like the much higher level thing. And so that's going to tap into these little blocks of things. So that's the way that I'm kind of thinking about this. So yeah, I give skills flexibility to read the situation. Yeah, I hope it's stable in Claude Desktop. Interesting. Yeah, got to try this feature. We'll sub to Claude Plan. Bro, that's how they get us, bro. Every day, bro. Like, yeah, $200 there, $200 over here, $300 over there. Like, we haven't even hit Grok, right? Grok still has 2 more weeks to drop their code model, and they're going to drop that 300. I mean, they already have that $300 a month plan, which I already canceled, but I'll probably have to sign back up for it because it's probably going to be ridiculous. Man, dude, I'm not ready for this, bro. I'm not ready for this, bro. Like by December, I'm going to spend like thousands of dollars on these LLMs, bro. I'm already broke. Yeah, man. I feel the pain. I feel the pain right now. It's kind of rough because there's a lot of stuff that's happening, but it is what it is. I gotta head on out. It's 10:55 here in California, and I really appreciate everyone who's been able to join in. This will probably turn into a members only stream. I might leave it up. I don't know. But yeah, that's what's up. Thank you for joining in. This has been a really awesome time to hang out with y'all. I'm glad my audio is working and all my different cameras are working. We got the camera here, and I'm ready to record the podcast for tomorrow. So I'm really happy about that. We got the screen shares. And so, yeah, this weekend, I'm going to be streaming probably every single day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Actually, I'm going to try to stream like every single day as much as possible because I feel like there's too much news, but I got to get these apps out the door too, right? So I got to get that animeleak.com, and then, Ray Transcribes is already doing that. So, yo. So this person knows some Spanish. Love you, Big Ray Ray. So Ray means king, El Rey. That's why like one of my emails is the Ray, and like people who know actually kind of know, if you know what I mean. So that's what's up. All right, fam. It's like seeing someone handle a situation and you pick it up and start using it. Oh man, that's what's cool. Yeah. For you're talking about the spec kit stuff. Yeah. Or not spec kit. You're talking about the skills. Yeah. Skills is going to be really interesting. I think skills is going to blow up. If not, I'm going to blow it up myself. So, yeah, but I think everyone's still trying to figure it out, but I encourage you to read. If you get anything from this live stream, read 10 minutes before bed, something that's going to help you think, like this Claude Code thing that we just read. And then just cook the next morning. That's it. Just go to sleep. Good night, y'all.